You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
MAGA meltdown as an apologetic judge walks free for defying Trump, based on an article by Adam Lynch. A judge, a fine, and the machinery of fear. The sentence is the distraction. Former Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan got a $5,000 fine and no jail time after a jury convicted her of obstructing a federal immigration proceeding. That is the fact pattern the news can easily reduce to a courtroom anecdote. It is not the point. The point is that a judge was punished, publicly staged, and turned into a lesson for everyone else about what happens when you interfere with immigration enforcement. Dugan said she was trying to do the right thing when she steered an undocumented defendant away from federal agents. She also said fear of immigration agents keeps people from coming to court at all. That is the part the enforcement state once buried. When the state terrorizes the public enough, court is no longer a civic forum. It becomes a trap. Who actually held power? The institutional power in the story sat with Homeland Security and the federal apparatus that treats immigration enforcement as an override switch for ordinary civic life. Dugan did not command that system. She moved against it, briefly, and got prosecuted for doing so. U.S. District Judge Lynn Edelman's comments recognized the obvious. She was a public servant who made a bad decision in the moment, not a recurring criminal threat. That nuance matters because the punishment was always larger than the offense. The courtroom conduct was minor. The political use of the case was not. The real power belonged to the agencies and prosecutors able to convert an ordinary act of resistance into a federal spectacle. The real message, obey or be made an example. Right-wing reaction instantly revealed the purpose of the case. Scott Fitzgerald called the sentence outrageous. Benny Johnson screamed two-tiered justice. Others demanded maximum punishment. This is not confusion. It is enforcement by rhetoric. The point is to widen the penalty from Dugan to every judge watching the case. Steve Biskupik, one of Dugan's attorneys, was blunt. She has become a poster child for the Trump administration's battle with local judges. That is the political meaning. The state is not merely punishing one judge. It is trying to discipline the bench into passivity, making sure local institutions understand that humane discretion can be recast as disloyalty. MAGA favorite trick turned cruelty into law. The right's framing depends on erasing the original violence. A defendant was trying to avoid federal immigration agents. Dugan tried to move the person away from that encounter. MAGA translates it into helping an illegal alien dodge ICE, as if the moral issue were semantic precision rather than the machinery of deportation itself. ICE should not be rehabilitated in this story. It should be abolished, not trained better, not overseen harder. Abolish. The agency exists to normalize intimidation, tear apart public trust, and turn courts, workplaces, and communities into zones of extraction. If a judge's momentary intervention can trigger this kind of political theater, the institution itself is the problem, not the one person who resisted it. Public service under siege. Edelman's line that Dugan was a good person, upset by immigration enforcement in this country, is more revealing than the sentence. That sentiment is widely shared because people understand what immigration enforcement has become, a regime of fear that reaches into daily life and makes public institutions less usable for the people who need them most. The arrest at work, the handcuffs, the walk through two courthouses, and the endless right-wing gloating all serve the same purpose. They do not just punish Dugan. They warn every judge, clerk, and public employee that the federal government expects obedience, not judgment. Local discretion is acceptable only when it aligns with federal coercion. The pattern. This is how authoritarian politics advances in plain sight, not only through formal power, but through example setting. A minor act of humane interference becomes a federal case. A measured sentence becomes a right-wing outrage cycle. A judge becomes a warning label. The public is told the problem is one official's disobedience. The real problem is the system that needs public fear to function and then calls that fear law enforcement. You've been listening to Systemic Care. Thanks to Alternet for today's article, with the automated voice of Joe. Thanks for listening.